You know, you're sitting at every angle I'm looking at, and there was some easier draws for Celtic. But Celtic and Neil Lennon in particular, and what the players managed to do last night to keep the whole thing going, is that you maybe get 1 or 2 really good sides, but to get 3 with the history that is in this group is absolutely unbelievable. The Celtic fans would like change every now and then. I think Neil himself said he wanted Real Madrid. Not to happen. This is pure Hollywood.
Dream stuff. You've got Messi, Balotelli. I mean, Ajax seem to be selling all their best players at the moment, but enjoy that. And as I said, to be at home, the atmosphere they've created over the last few years and the job Neil Lennon's done is absolutely phenomenal. I can't wait to watch Group H. It's going to be certainly something to behold.
Dwight York in our Manchester studio there. David Moyes hasn't got his old club Celtic, but Barcelona, Milan, Ajax, former European champions. It's mouth-watering stuff, isn't it?
I think that's why it's called the greatest competition in the world. You know, this is what the players is all about. This is what the players live for outside of the World Cup. The club competition in the Champions League. Seeing the best players on show. I'm sure that everyone will be relishing the opportunity at Manchester United. You look at the teams in the group. Shakhtar Donetsk and Bayern Leverkusen, who's obviously got off to a very good start in the German, the Bundesliga. And you're looking at Real Sociedad as well. I think that David Moyes will be extremely happy with that draw. And the players, I'm sure, will relish that. It's all about getting through to the next, to the knockout group stage as quickly as possible, getting the points on the board. And I'm sure that's what David Moyes will be looking at. But some exciting games there. Bayern Leverkusen, the German teams are always difficult to play against. But I'm expecting United to advance in that group.
Jamie, do you share Dwight's optimism?
Yes, I do. It's a tough group. I'll be looking forward to seeing my old mate Sami Hyypiä, who's doing a really good job at Bayer Leverkusen, coming back as well. Sociedad, a really good football team, seems to be progressing nicely. And if you look at Shakhtar as well, I mean, a couple of years ago you said really difficult draw, but they lost Fernandinho, Willian, Mkhitaryan, so important players who have now left. So you'd feel that they are not quite the force that they were a year or so ago.
Carlos Vela at Sociedad as well. Could David Moyes have hoped for a much better draw than that, Charlie?
Yeah, he probably could have been a bit kinder. It depends on how the fixtures are arranged. You go to Shakhtar, you want that pretty early on, I would think.
Yeah.
The other ones,
it's a long trip. That
is a danger one. You don't want that really in the last at the start of November. The other ones, Sociedad's a fine young team, got a lot of good talented kids, but it'll be a football contest. I think the way that they like to play. So I think David Moyes has got it's a tough draw, but I think it's a good one.
So that's Manchester United in with Shakhtar, Bayer Leverkusen and Real Sociedad. We've heard about Celtic drawing Barcelona, AC Milan and Ajax. As I say, we do hope to speak very shortly to Neil Lennon. Let's go from Group A, Manchester United's group, to Group D, Manchester City's group. And they have drawn the reigning champions Bayern Munich. They've also got CSKA Moscow, who they've never met in European competition before, and they've also drawn the Czech champions Victoria Pilsen, who have only once before played in the Champions League. They had to come through qualifying. Bayern Munich, obviously, Jamie, stands out.
I think it's a great group for them, considering they're in Pot C and what they had to go against last year. I think they would have Dortmund and Real Madrid last year. That's as tough as it comes. I'd be amazed if they don't get through that group. I think they have the quality of play. I think they've improved. That group, they have to get out of that. There'll be no excuses this time. If they don't get out of that group, they should get Mancini back. I'm telling you, that's a real touch for them.
It is a touch. I tell you, they've been waiting a bit of luck in this competition for a bit, and then they've been unconvincing at times. This is a no excuse situation for Pellegrini. He simply must get through this, and he should.
Dwight York, no excuses for Pellegrini, no excuses for Manchester City this time.
Absolutely agree with the boys, 100%. As I said, they're relatively new in this competition. They had two years under Mancini, haven't really progressed, haven't made anything happen. Certainly, this is a great opportunity for them to progress in the group stage. And as I said, I agree with the boys in the studio there. If they don't happen to progress in this group, then there's some serious consequences needs to be asked.
Just give us an idea, Jamie, why a change of manager, we know that Mancini didn't have the greatest record in Europe, why a change of manager would make such a difference this season for Manchester City?
Well, I think Pellegrini falls into the line of managers that players seem to enjoy playing football for. I think he did a good job at Malaga. I think there were a couple of bad decisions away from getting into the semi-finals. Not one has won a great deal in his time. I think he won some trophies in Argentina. I think that's probably all he's won. He hasn't had the most success, but he's got to get that squad together. I mentioned earlier on he's got to keep the players fit. I think that's important. People like Vincent Kompany have to be ready for these big nights. They've gone for a change, I think, because of the truth. He fell out with a lot of the players, Mancini. That was one of the reasons. And also because they didn't get out of the group stages. This is their chance this year. They will never get a better chance to get out of the group while they're in Pot C. I think that has really fallen kindly for them.
Pep Guardiola bringing Bayern Munich, though.
Not bad, is it?
That'd be great fun, wouldn't it?
Yeah, exactly, but I mean, Pellegrini's got his great reputation. He lets his players go and express himself. He picks them and plays them in a position where they're comfortable with. But going back to Jamie's point, it's so relevant. They need Vincent Kompany fit, because that was our Achilles heel last season, was defending again. They're fine going forward, bags of talent going forward, but still vulnerable in that lack of experience in this competition.
Absolutely.
And we were talking too earlier on, Dwight, about the weighing up the pros and cons of a harder team or a tough travel. They've certainly got that in Russia, and CSK Moscow have Manchester City.
Well, I think as players, that's the one thing you always look at, the travel arrangements. But, now with the Premiership and the kind of money that is floating around at these clubs, traveling arrangements is really straightforward to these players now. You get on the plane, it's all been prepared for you, your meals are prepared for you, even your beds are made for you on the plane. So there's literally no excuses. Yes, it's probably a 4 or 5 hour journey, but that's nothing to these players. So I'm not expecting, traveling to Moscow as an excuse for the City boys. The one question is, if they get Bayern Munich early in the group stages, can they put up a good show against the reigning champions? Can they not be, like more of a disgrace in terms of performance, getting beat easily? They need to show a lot of resilience and showing what they're capable of. They've spent a lot of money. They're expecting to get through this group. And as the boys said, if they don't get through to this group, then there's some question needs to be answered.
Just quickly, Charlie, were the beds made on the plane when you were playing?
No, but I tell you what, there's some lovely trips in there. If any of my bosses are listening, I'm more than happy to go to some of these matches. One bed.
He means that.
Yeah, I bet he does. We've had a little chat then about Manchester City, Manchester United and Celtic. We're still to talk more on Chelsea and Arsenal, of course, which we will in just a couple of minutes. We do hope to speak very shortly live to Neil Lennon and get his reaction to that tough draw for Celtic. And we'll also be back with Nick Collins, who will be interviewing various figureheads from the British clubs out there in Monaco too. Plenty more reaction to come on the Champions League draw here on Sky Sports News. So there we go, that completes the formalities live from Monaco. The Champions League group stage draw is complete. Let's just recap then for you before we get some reaction from our guests on the groups. Group A sees Manchester United, David Moyes' Champions League group stage debut. They will face Shakhtar Donetsk, who they've never met before, Sami Hyypiä's Bayer Leverkusen and Real Sociedad, who finished 4th in La Liga last season and came through the qualifiers. What about Group B? This includes Real Madrid, semi-finalists for the last 3 years. Juventus, conquerors of Celtic last season, last one in 1996. Carlos Tevez on their books now. Galatasaray of Turkey and Stola Solbaken's FC Copenhagen. In Group C, Benfica, who host this year's final. Paris Saint-Germain, the French champions. The Greek champions, Olympiacos and Anderlecht of Belgium. Into Group D, Manchester City have been drawn to face the reigning champions, Bayern Munich, who they met in the group stage a couple of years ago, Russia's CSK Moscow, who they've never met, and also the Czech champions, Viktoria Pilsen, who came through qualifying in the last couple of nights. In Group E, Chelsea and Jose Mourinho. We'll find out what the guys think about the draw. We think they'll be pretty happy with it because he's got Schalke of the Bundesliga. He's got Basel and Steaua Bucharest, and Chelsea fans will tell you they know both those clubs well. They met them in the Europa League last season, Basel and Steaua Bucharest, and knocked them both out. In Group F, what a draw for Arsenal. Marseille, hometown of new signing Mathieu Flamini, don't you know. Borussia Dortmund, the beaten finalists last year, and Rafa Benitez's Napoli, which means not only will Benitez be coming to the Emirates, so will Gonzalo Higuain. Yikes, says Charlie Nicholas. In Group G, Porto, Atletico Madrid, Zenit St. Petersburg and Austria Vienna, the only Champions League debutants this season. And Group H, is where we find Celtic, who have been drawn against Barcelona, who of course they met last year and beat at Celtic Park. Let's not forget AC Milan, the 7-time winners, and the Dutch champions Ajax. So those are the 8 groups. We now know who will face who. This was Neil Lennon's reaction when he saw the draw. His head sunk to the table. We hope to speak to him live, see what he makes of that draw very shortly, and we'll also get the views of Jamie Redknapp, Charlie Nicholas and Dwight York too. Contrasting emotions, I'm sure, for the 5 British clubs. What will the managers make of those draws? What chance of them making it through to the last 16? We'll ask our panel in just a couple of minutes.